the thing that I would say about the Finleys or the Rollinses or some of the other people you mentioned, there's an old saying that never ascribe to malice what can be properly accounted for by stupidity. And as a corollary of that, I would say, I don't know if a Karen Finley or a Rollins or any of these other people are even capable of going beyond the cult of personality kind of thing, the desire to be famous. Getting back to what I said about the simian, we as human beings, we want to be the center of attention. We are social animals. The internet has I think really unleashed this kind of sick desire for this internet fame that Bruce Jenner wears a dress, he's brave. Then he's got his daughter Kylie Jenner. Apparently there was something about her getting a car from some third-rate rapper, and it was internet bootylicious all over the internet. It's like I'm saying is that all of these little memes that get propounded for ridiculous reasons. If Henry Rollins, walked naked through Times Square and then urinated on Gracie Mansion, the mayor's mansion in New York, he'd get noticed, but it'd be for something utterly ridiculous. And he could say, I urinated on Gracie Mansion to support the Icelandic separatist movement or whatever he might be supporting. But yeah, I went to countless cabarets and performance art, and I saw Finley with the stuff. There was another performance artist I knew who was sort of in the Karen Finley vein in the Twin Cities. Her name was Heidi Arneson. She was a nice enough woman. I think she once told me, and I could be wrong, but that she had had some mental issues that she had been trying to work out, and she was actually a pretty good writer. But then she would do crazy stuff, like she would take off her clothes to read something banal, and it's like, okay, well, you're naked. She wasn't an unattractive woman by any means, but why did you have to get naked? I mean, I remember going to a performance of King Lear with a friend of mine about 20 years ago, and there's the scene where Lear's wandering about on the heath, and he's all fucked up, and he's soliloquizing, and he meets the fool. I think it is the fool, or some minor character. Except in this version, the minor character is naked. Now, what happened was the whole audience sees him naked, and they go, but not because of the nudity. I mean, if you're going to a small theater, you're sophisticated enough. It's not the nudity, but the thing is, it was so cold in the theater that he had, the Seinfeldian shrinkage, and so he had about this 1-inch little penis sticking out, and throughout the whole play, when I think he appears once more in the play, people are saying, when's Shrinky Dink coming back? When's Shrinky? So the whole play was undermined by this bad directorial decision to, for no apparent reason, gratuitously stick nudity into the play. Now, I don't remember if the actor playing Lear or who was playing the daughters or anyone else. I don't remember anything but this naked guy, and not because of moral outrage, but just because it was gratuitous, and it totally undermined what the play was about. So why do that? Because I mean, you could do something. You could transpose Lear into modern society. You could transpose Lear. If there's a 1956 sci-fi film called Forbidden Planet, which is about the Tempest, you could take, it's based on the Tempest. You could take Shakespeare and put him into all kinds of things, but you have to remain essential to the art. Someone like a Karen Finley, I might have seen her 2 or 3 times over the years, and I don't remember anything of any depth. I remember I saw Allen Ginsberg perform in 95 or 96, a few months before he died, and he was just doing utter crap. He was doing his like shit machine poems, and I remember they had 2 microphones where people stood in line to ask him questions, and I was like maybe the 6th or 7th on one of the microphones, and they cut off questioning right before I got there. I would have asked him. I said, Alan, you wrote 10 or 12 great poems. These are seminal poems. Howl, Kaddish, a few others, Sunflower Sutra, Supermarket in California. These are poems that are important as art. They also have a political element. Now, for the last 20 years, all you've been looking to do is write poems to get into the pants of little, teenage grocery bag boys. What is wrong with you? I mean, were you always this way, or did you slack off and just become this worthless individual? I don't know. Again, getting back, I don't know if a Henry Rollins has that ability. I've listened to some of the Henry Rollins music. I've got a couple of books of his so-called poetry. I've seen videos. He's an effective performer. There's a difference though between performance art and poetry. When I would read a poem when I got on stage, I would try to put something in, but I would try to stand there and read. I remember I read a poem about at this thing called Ball's Cabaret in Minnesota. I remember I read one. I had a poem about Frederick Edwin Church, one of his great uh, large painting poems. And I remember I turned my back to the audience and I imagined the painting behind me. And I got down and I just read the words so that people, and I would point where certain things in my memory of where the painting was, and I would use the words. And I remember it was an effective piece. People came up to me afterwards, and they were trying to visualize what I was saying because the words were in a great order. Because if all I was trying to do is, let's say, if I was going to do Edvard Munch's The Kiss, and I was trying to describe it in a poem, if all I'm doing is describing it in a straightforward manner, there's really no reason to do that. You have to go, yeah, if you're doing art based upon art, you have to go beyond that. You have to use the initial art as a metaphor. You just can't simply recapitulate the art. There's no point to do that. If I was to write a poem about, about a film or about a moment in a film or about like I said, one of these paintings. I did a series of painting poems called the 49 Gallery, where I took famous paintings and I would write about them. But I can't simply recapitulate what the painting is. That's going to fail. Even if it's a solid poem, it's not going to be as good as the painting. It has to be a starting point from where you go off. Someone like a Karen Finley, someone like a Rollins, a lot of these performance artists, all the New Eurekans, all they are interested is in about themselves.